So welcome to Montreal Rocks. And today we have in studio Midnight Miles. Welcome, guys.
How's it going?
Hello.
So why don't we go with Ryan, Paul, and Aiden. Just introduce yourselves and what do you do in the band?
My name is Ryan, and I'm singing lead vocals.
My name is Paul Lusick, and I'm playing. I'm one of the two guitar players and singing background vocals as well.
My name's Aiden Keeley, and I'm playing bass and singing harmony also.
And describe a bit your sound, because we know the band, The Holds, which Ryan, you're a part of, and your drummer has followed you. But this is a new band. So tell us a little bit about the sound that you're kind of going for with this new project.
Well, initially, I would say that with The Holds, we sort of drove intentionally within the lanes of the road, so to speak, you know? Although the sound was raw, we sort of stuck to the formula in which we had recorded on record, okay? But then, like thinking back to the clubs, like playing small clubs, I think that the thing that moved people the most was when we were able to improvise and sort of let loose and like go on a journey with people, you know? So I started to reflect, like, what can we do to sort of like make a project that does that doesn't adhere to the rules, that's constantly shifting and morphing, you know, into like different colors, different avenues.
And I think, I mean, we spoke once before when I visited your studio, and we talked about how everybody on the band are a little bit in that same mindset of being able to improvise, almost like taking that essence of jazz, but applying it to more like R&B, rock and roll. How has that helped the kind of, you know, as a new band, you have to get to know each other, right? So how does this improvisation kind of help the band kind of mesh?
It's almost like you're challenging each other in a friendly way, obviously, then to see like what people are going to do, where they're going to go with it, what's going to happen, almost like dancers, you know, like, so I don't know.
Obviously the backbone of any band is the rhythm section. So you have Aiden and your drummer who are there to like kind of give you that bass. And I'm not talking about just the bass, but I mean the bass of the foundation of the music.
Yeah.
So, and then we have the guitars on top, which, you know, kind of follow along that pattern. You guys have been practicing quite a bit. How is the sound coming along?
Well, if I may interject, I think it's really cool. It's true as things are new right now, but switching from, I guess I was in the Holds in the later days and before the pandemic, and now as it's transitioned into Midnight Miles, I'm actually one of the older members now after Ryan and Justin. And one of the differences, just to touch on a couple of the last things you were saying, is like whereas before when I was coming in and things were already written and structured and the songs were really well done and it was really fun and cool, for now everyone who's new in the project, myself, Peter, and Aiden, it's like, because we're working on some new material, us as individual musicians are like, the way it's set up now is that we're writing some of the material together, or Ryan's allowing us to bring our own musical styles and flares into the project. And so there's a sort of, I guess, a spontaneous chemistry happening where depending on the way Aiden's playing a bass line that I've never heard, and him vice versa, the way that the guitars are sounding, we're all reacting to it a little bit and finding our place together. And that's certainly a cool thing because, you know, it's like, you know, chemistry in real time. And now we're starting to just dial things in a little bit more, settling on the parts so that we're going to have, you know, nice structured songs with good movements through, but really based on, you know, like you were saying, the chemistry and the fact that we're listening to each other and our parts are affected by each other's playing. And that's a really cool, fun thing.
I really agree for sure with what Paul was saying. And I think we all bring something to the table, and we all bring like a certain flavor, and it's really exciting. I'm really enjoying how our sound is developing, and I feel like for me, like you were saying, the improvisation and being spontaneous, that's really where the joy of music is for me. And so when everybody can get in that same vein and improvise and kind of bounce things off each other, I think that's really where the magic happens. So I'm really grateful to have a good group of guys like this to be able to improvise with, and I'm glad that Ryan encourages that kind of playing too. So
it's not a dictatorship, and collaboration is encouraged. And really, that's the essence of every great band is being able to contribute to the sound. Oftentimes, you might have a great riff, but it's just missing that something, and somebody can come in and just add to it, and layer after layer, you just develop the final product, which is the song that you're actually going to put out. But then, as you guys mentioned, you can actually play with it a little bit in the live setting and kind of use that. I think we mentioned it before, but like that jazz philosophy of kind of just going with it and trusting in your band that they will follow you on the small journeys, and then you'll come back to the song and kind of and I think that's what makes it more exciting. Obviously, you guys have not been able to play live because of the pandemic, but now that things are opening up, what's coming up next for the Midnight Miles?
We actually have a show booked for Tuesday, the 27th of July in Beaconsfield. We're playing in the park outside. It's a maximum capacity of 250 people. And we're super stoked for that, because I mean, for me personally, it'll be my first show of 2021.
Yeah, I think we're all just itching to hear live music, and
that's it. I mean, when we all came in the first time, I think, to the jam room, like I was mentioning the other day, I don't think we couldn't have planned it if we tried. But when we all came in, a lot of us hadn't played in like a year or so in that sort of capacity. And the energy in the room was sort of sizzling, if you will. And I was just kind of amazed, you know, and then I thought to myself, like leaving the jam, I was super high off the jam. I was thinking to myself, how do we sort of like maintain that and harness that? Because that's what I think going forward, people want to celebrate, people want to let loose, you know. So the key I think was to not adhere to expectations, and to just be as true to ourselves as possible. And one of the ways, the best way to do that is to like keep the improvisations going, keep the free flow going, you know, like always change things every time you play it. So that way it's always a journey, and like people are coming with us, you know?
definitely.
Totally. And that way it feels fresh, you know.
That's it.
It's fresh for us too. Yeah.
So because until you guys get your Wikipedia page, we want to know the origin. And I only ask this because I was not able to find it online yet. So what is the origin of the name Midnight Miles? I picture myself driving on a dark road in an old car, like a 70s car, to kind of match your style a little bit, and just, you know, putting on those midnight miles with some music, alone, starry night. That's what I picture.
That's perfect. That's what we want. I mean, if you look at the artwork, you see like there's the owls, and they're sort of like the night watchmen, you know, looking through time, and there's like the highway in the middle. It's almost like you're entering some kind of carnival in the middle of the night with the full moon in the background. So I had a lot of time to reflect over the you know, while things were locked down during 2020, I started to realize that most of like when I'm the most inspired, it's usually during two things, right? One, like you said, is like in the middle of the night, when it's all, you know, the stars are out, the moon is out, and it's just, you know, you feel it, right? To me, that's, you know, where I draw a lot of inspiration. And then secondly is when I'm putting miles on the motorcycle, just like you could relate to that.
Yes.
So Midnight Miles, and that's it.
And of course, in any band, there is that journey of getting to some place, a creative place. And I, I was there when you guys just were kind of in the middle of that jam, and I could feel the energy, even though I wasn't even in the room where you guys were playing. We're just in the park, but I could also feel the camaraderie and that bond that you've already started. So we look forward to seeing that kind of develop as the years go by, and especially develop on stage. When it comes to well, let's do this. It's a little game I like to play. I call it Fantasy Rock Band. Now, you've probably heard of fantasy football, fantasy hockey, all those things. I'm not a sports guy, so I do love music. So I would like us to create the ultimate rock band by choosing a singer, bassist, guitarist, and drummer, at the very least. Who would you choose and why?
Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, John Paul. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Dead or alive?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, there's so many good options. I feel like, I mean, I would have to put maybe Jaco Pastorius on bass in there, even though he's not as much of a rocker. Like, I feel like he could fill the role for sure. That'd be my bass pick, probably.
Paul, who would you pick for guitar?
It's such a tricky one. I don't want to sound cliche or anything, but I mean, I still have
the first name that comes to mind is probably the right answer.
Well, I have always maintained a soft spot for Eric Clapton, I guess, because it was the first person who really inspired me on guitar and really wanted me to jump in and play in a certain way that spoke to people. So, and he's diverse, over the decades. So I would have to go with Eric Clapton.
And Ryan, who would you pick as a frontman or front woman?
I mean, obviously, if I was thinking from like when I first started really becoming enchanted with rock and roll, because I assume we're talking about like a rock and roll super group, right?
It's whatever you want.
Now that we have Jaco Pastorius on bass and Eric Clapton on guitar, I mean,
Sounds like a sick band already, yeah.
I would almost be curious to shake it up and do something like maybe Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
It's live shoes, just like,
That sounds like an electric group to me. It sounds pretty
Absolutely
good.
wild band, yeah. Wouldn't want to miss that show.
Yeah.
All we need is a drummer. Who wants to pick the drummer?
I'm gonna just pick Justin, dude.
Good choice.
I think Justin he might actually be recording a band in his home studio right now, but I could be mistaken.
All right.
So.
Well, the reason I ask this question, and I always reveal it afterwards, is I don't want to ask that age-old question of who are your influences. So this is my way to find out who they are without asking that boring question. So it's obvious that from your answers, you guys are kind of digging into the past and being inspired by that sound, but also, as I've seen in the holds, and I saw you guys live a couple times, you were able to take that music, but also give it a fresh spin. And I think now it's going to be that, again, the same thing, a fresh spin on some inspiration from the past, but getting a little bit more experimental and maybe truer to your core, which might, be that secret sauce, that secret recipe to make it even better.
True to the core, but also like riskier, taking a few more chances. And I'm not worrying so much, like if something doesn't sound good, there's we find the beauty in those defaults, like.
Yeah.
Everyone, when you're in the moment, if something happens, that's it. You can't go back.
But there's also an excitement to that edge. I mean, if everything is auto-tuned, pre-recorded, then what's the point? Might as well stay at home, right?
I mean, like, I think that over the years, I mean, for sure, like we're not reinventing the wheel. No one in rock and roll is reinventing the wheel, but there any music that's sort of steeped in the blues and stems from that sort of genre, okay, there's definitely like a few things to consider. One, you're sort of constantly tipping the hat to the greats of the past, whether through the songwriting or even in your playing, you know. And then the other thing, you know, to make it work is to consistently be like firmly rooted in the present. So you're drawing inspiration for the past, but you gotta be like here and looking in front of you, you know?
Yeah, and one thing I would say that I think is really cool to touch on that or expand on that is that one of the coolest things for me, like playing in different bands and over the years here and there, is like one of the most important pieces is just once you get with a group of guys or people and you're collaborating musically, where it just feels easy and fun. And the more fun you start having, the less you're contemplating, you're just doing and you're being and you're expressing, and it just opens up. And then suddenly that's when the magic really starts happening. It's just like, oh man, we're not even thinking, we're not talking about our influences right now. We're not doing anything. We're just living in the moment, like Ryan said, and in the present, and just the totality of our energies together and all the hard work we've put in, our own individual crafts and the influences that we've already contemplated. Now it's just coming out. And because we're in the same room, we hear a song that has some fire behind it that Ryan put a lot of work into or whatever, and now we're able to just do our little paintings on our own our separate tapestries and throw it all together. And it's like it starts becoming very natural, and it takes on a life of its own. And then it's like, okay, all the stuff is in the past. Now it's like you said, it's in the present, and the more fun you have, the realer it gets, and people pick up on that and start having fun too.
For sure. Yeah. Having fun is like the lubricant that makes everything, you know, move along easier. And yeah, and it's infectious. It's infectious, you know.
Yeah, to Aiden's point, you can feel an energy in a room when a band is driving together, when it's really going well, when they're in the zone, you know, and you can feed off each other as well. And it's not a selfish thing. You're actually taking their energy, but you're also giving back. You know, you're kind of amplifying it. So you're giving back more than you're taking in. And I believe that's the beauty of live music, is that in the end, the band are, you know, taking from the crowd all those cheers, all that energy that, especially after being cooped up for a year and a half, there's a lot of energy to give. And then you kind of reflect it back to the crowd in your, you know, using your craft. And you guys have all spent years, if not decades, perfecting. So we look forward to seeing you guys play live. Is there when you're writing your lyrics, are you more of a storyteller? Maybe creating a character like in this movie, or is it more biographical, where you're kind of taking things from your own life, maybe a certain point in time, and writing about that?
Wow, it's like all three. Like for sure, there's a few songs that are storytellers, you know, but most of them are either like autobiographical or just sort of vibing with like on the human experience. You know, it's sort of written very abstractly. I think if you're gonna get into like this real like storytelling, you know, you really gotta, if that's your like strong point. I feel like for me, I'm more into like writing a song that's really hooky, and you know, it's more about like the flow of the song and like the energy of the vocals and the delivery and stuff like that. And it's not to take away from storytelling, it's just like you know, it's just what I do, you know. It's just, yeah, so I think most of the songs are just, you know, just sort of reflecting abstractly the human experience. You know, a lot of people could relate to it, but as a whole, I mean, just to be clear, like a lot of it's quite simple, if you will, you know.
And then you add some cool shoes.
Yeah, just gotta like, as long as you're wearing cool shoes, it's gonna
Everything-
be cool, you know?
Super good point.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you guys play coming up in the park in Beaconsfield. And I'm sure there'll be many more shows coming up as you guys cement that relationship and put things out. Are we to expect some music to come out of this that will be on streaming platforms or maybe even physical media one day?
Absolutely. We're thinking, well, you know, we already have like a handful of new numbers. So I mean, after the business with this show, after this month, I think we'll start looking about getting back in the studio after, I'd say, like a year and a half. So
And will we be hearing some of the repertoire from the holds, or is this going to be a total clean break and it's moving on to a new project completely?
I mean, I like to think of it as a clean break, but at the same time, there's no reason why we'll probably rock out some of those old tunes but just put a different spin on them and play them really really loosely and jammy, you know, because but we'll only pick the good ones.
All right. So make sure you bring some toast because there's going to be a lot of jams going on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. I am a dad. The dad jokes do come out. It's nice talking to you, and we look forward to hearing from Midnight Miles. I can't wait to hear some that first show. I really hope I'm in the audience, and I'll be dancing. I'll bring my cool shoes too.
Awesome.
Amen.